on the huge investment from Cisco, $100 million for the new company. I think one of the few startups received this year. So before I get started with the question, I wanted to quote a quote from John Chambers in an article which came out in April 2012. So the quote is, the team at Insimi is a team that's been remarkably successful for us. If you watch what they have done, they helped us do that transition in the data center, a very similar type of spin-in, which we had very similar terms to. If you watch our track record here, this is the fourth time this team has built what we hope will be a world-class product covering one of the elements of network programmability. Obviously, this speaks for itself, and also you just mentioned that the revenue run rate for Nexus is over 2.5 billion. I mean, so it's a great testament for the value you and your team have created over the years for Cisco, with all the 4 companies, and with the now taking it to new heights. And now the question is, how confident do you feel that you would be able to do this again with your team? Of course, there are a number of startups, including Arista, Big Switch, Nicera, which are ahead in the market, and some of them are already making money and doing very well, I guess.
So one correction I want to make it is that the revenue number which I mentioned is not Nexus. There is a lot of other Cisco Nexus products. The revenue number was the combination of the UCS and Nexus, the product which we brought into the market. Otherwise, Nexus is a much bigger product line than this. There is a Nexus 7000 product which was shipped even before we started. We started shipping the Nova part. So the Nexus brand was already Cisco's brand. We just became part of it. Just a correction. Second question is, it's very difficult to predict the future. I don't know if anybody here can predict with a crystal ball. I think the environment is tough in the market. As you can see, the economic conditions is different. I think our objective is basically focus, head down, and work on the areas which is we are good at doing it, is defining the product, working with customers, and hiring the best talent which is available in the valley, and making it sure that the funding is not a problem. Like you said, I think our time frame is to deliver the product in as fast as we can, making it sure. The only thing is that we are always concerned on an everyday basis and making it sure that we are moving as fast as possible to move, humanly possible. Okay? We measure those on a regular basis. We have great communication with the people, in the team, within the team itself. And because we have to grow very rapidly, otherwise you'll not be able to do it. And when you grow very rapidly, you hire sometimes, you make mistakes. Okay? One thing which you learn out of this is that you make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes, but even more important is to correct it right away and don't wait. And don't feel ashamed of saying that I made a mistake and correct it. It's very important, that particular aspect, because sometimes with our egos, we go away and say, oh, I decided to do this and I'm going to stick with it. We don't have any such thing. The other thing which is important is between 4 of us, we had such a good understanding. Mario, Lucas, myself, we are working since 1983. Sony is working with us since 1992. We have such a clear understanding between each other. There is no doubt in anybody's mind what you're capable of doing and what you're not capable of doing. That particular part works very well, because a lot of startup fails because of the rift between the founders, or the founders wants to drive the companies in different directions, or they can't pull the team together. Okay? So I think this is one advantage we have. Second advantage we have is that we have a channel which is available to us. As long as we deliver a product, we know the channel will work. Third is, people in the industry know us very well, okay, in this particular space. They didn't know anything about, when we started voice over IP, the telephone, people used to ask me the question, what do you know about the telephone? They didn't know that I had the experience working for B&R. And we had a startup called David Systems, which was doing the same thing, except that we didn't succeed. We did it in Cisco, built the voice over IP technologies as a part of it, changed the whole paradigm of voice PBXs, okay, than what we were building it before. We accepted the fact that the data won and the voice lost, okay. unless you give up those kind of things and you say, look, I mean, this is the reality of the fact is, let's go to do the right thing. So I think those are the mindset which you need to have going into a startup. And obviously we are getting old. We don't have the same level of energy. I'm losing memory. Sometimes I think like I can't remember things which I used to remember. So with that also, we need to make sure that you have very capable people who can really help you out to make that possible, the transitions. So don't consider you yourself too old at all, okay? I think we are all young. So when people ask the question, says I'm 60 years old young. Still have a long way to go.
So you're still working from 6 o'clock in the morning in the office?
Absolutely, and anybody wants to hike, I go to Mission Peak almost every day at 5:30 in the morning. You can come and join. Most welcome. It's a good exercise, it's a free gym. Think this way. You don't need to pay anything. And naturally it's very beautiful because you get a fresh air. Every day is different. Some day you have clouds, some day you have sunny, some day is foggy. And you see coyotes, you see multiple things. It's beautiful.
As long as they can run back with you.
You don't need to run back. I mean, even for my knees, it's not good. Every time I run back, doctors, anybody who's a doctor running back says, don't hurt your knees. You still have a long way to go. So I'm slowing down a little bit, running back.
Thank you. So let me ask one different question, then we'll open it to the audience. Question is just, you've kind of spoken about it already in your talk, but I'll just ask, what are some of the things that you're proud of while you and team built Nova system, which was very successful right now?
I think the thing which we were proud of, I'll tell you, throughout the whole time, we were very concerned about go-to-market. The reason for that is this is not the cup of tea for Cisco was, because Cisco was not in this business. Like in the previous companies, we realized that go-to-market is very important. So we wanted to understand what is the go-to-market strategy is going to be here in this particular thing. The people who buy the server, they're not the same people who buy the network. They're different. Okay, so the question is, how do you get into that particular thing? We spent a lot of time trying to strategize this ourselves because we knew that by the time we became part of Cisco, it would be too late because we had the product and you had to start selling it. So we worked behind the scene, working with other leadership within the Cisco to make sure that we understand this, how we're going to take it, how many people do we need to ramp up the revenue. Because the other problem with this particular product is like, the saying which goes is that, like wine is very good when it's old. Well, it's just not true for product. It gets old, it's useless. And in the case of server, it's even worse. Because every 18 months, I don't know if you heard about this Intel technology concept is tick-tock, tick-tock. Okay? They have 2 versions of the processors will come out and then the next generation will show up. And if you sell it in that window, otherwise you're done. Because the next one is going to come out in the market. So biggest accomplishment here, I think, is much more so than anything else is the innovations which I talked about. But really figuring it out how to go to market and really figuring it out how to do the support for this. And the second thing is how to work with partners. Because this was impossible to do it yourself because what are you going to do with just buying a server? You need to have the right operating systems, you have to write virtualization into this, you have to write applications running into it. And people used to tell us you need to spend millions of dollars to get those certifications. We worked very hard to say we don't need millions of dollars, can we do it with a small amount of people? Can we do it with a small amount of things? That was another thing which is, you have to break the ice because if you do exactly the same way, which is Oracle is doing it today, or IBM is doing it, or HP is doing it, there is no way we would have gone where we are. So those are the 3 things I think, which is innovation, go-to-market, and support model.
Okay, we'll have a question from the audience. Can you get the mic here?
Prem, you have done it several times, and the same team. So have the roles, the way traditionally people think, remained exactly same? When you think of normal startups, somebody is leading technology, somebody is doing architecture, somebody is doing finance. So how does it change from company to company? Or does it change?
I think in our case, except for the in CMA, Mario was always the CEO. Luca and myself, we were both part of the development organization. You can call it VP of engineering or whatever it is. And also I took the head of finance. I was a CFO in all companies, including this one. In this one is Mario is the chairman of the board. Luca and myself are co-CEO, two in a box. So the thing which I learned before is very applicable to make it work. And Sony is in marketing. And we basically take the best people which we hire and then make sure that they are responsible for architectures. By the way, we do participate in every discussions. No product get defined until we are part of it. We go and review schematics, we review the code, so we are still hands-on. So it's not like, okay, you are a senior. People used to tell me I was a senior VP at Cisco and I was in a schematic review. They said, it must be crazy. What are you doing here? I said, I want to continuously keep up with my part of my ego of technology, to really understand how you're designing it and stuff like that, and if I can provide some input. So I think we all do the same way. I think we are all hands-on. Actually, you will see it, we design on a piece of napkin. Sometimes you're designing on the blackboards. We go and bounce ideas with the people. People come and bounce ideas with us. So in that particular fashion, we are not just your classical management team in that particular sense. I think we are all hands-on.
It's on.
Yeah, I have seen great story and all the successes that you have achieved. Let me bring you back to your Nova, the server business. So, question is somewhat tacky. By getting into the server business and competing with your own customers, how much networking business it costs you? It costs Cisco. Because right after Cisco announced the server business, many of its customers, IBMs of the world and others, switched to the competition. Let me also go to the second question. The real growth in the server business, I mean, we know all about the rate at which the data centers are being built, whether it's Google or it's Facebook. The rate at which it's not the blade business that's growing, it's the white boxes that are growing. So Seagates and Western Digital of the world are sending the storage, but the white boxes people, because you cannot afford to really use the blades to make it effective, cost effective. And let me also, with the same light, ask the third question. Where do you see the future of Cisco? Because in spite of all the wonderful things that you have done, the growth of Cisco has really slowed down. And market is really not giving it kudos for whatever Cisco is doing.
So let me go backwards. So the third one I can't answer because I'm not at Cisco. I'm at NCME, so that's a very straightforward thing. The other two I can answer you in a fashion where the way we looked at it. This was the concern I think any company will have day one when you want to enter into the business, which is you're working with your partners and stuff like that, and why you want to take that risk, at that particular point. It's a very interesting question. The way you look at it is, we were looking at it a little differently. We were looking at it this way, is that the paradigm is shifting, that this boundary between the server, the storage, the networking is disappearing. Okay? So the question was, when the blade starts coming in, they start putting the networking pieces inside the blades. And Cisco has to provide the blade inside, the blade server, which was introduced by IBM. IBM, the first one, came out, the blade server, which was taking away. I mean, even though we were making it, they were making it themselves, somebody else was making it. We didn't have that particular segment of the market was going away. So don't look at it just from one angle. In the businesses, you need to look at it from multiple different angles, which is something that's very important, because if you always look at it from one angle, you're going to see, it's like a story about this elephant. I'm pretty sure all of you have heard about it. That somebody thought it was a rope if you touch the tail. Okay? So it's very important to understand where the market is going, and think about it where the cloud is going to end up going. You will not know anything about what you have. Neither you will know about network, neither will you know about the storage, neither you will know about the server. It will become infrastructure. Okay, so I think that transformation is already started occurring. You had to realize early enough if you want to play in that particular transformation. As a matter of fact, when we were starting it, we were saying it is already too late. The other thing which we wanted to do different is when IBM built this, they built the blades based upon the fact that you are designing so that networking is the secondary thought into that one when you're putting the blades in. The chassis was designed to put the blades, was not designed to put the network. We just reversed the model. We says we are building a chassis which is ready for networking perspective, and you put the blade inside. And you can put any blade. Actually, as a matter of fact, the idea was to have anybody who wants to put the blade in, they can come and put the blade in. So the idea was that we wanted to make sure that we capture that market which we lost, were losing, start coming back. Now sure, you have partners which is selling your product, and as you realize very well that the world, we technologists, we think sometimes the world will change like this. I developed a new technologies, people will adopt it tomorrow. It doesn't happen in reality. It takes long period of time. So we said, yeah, this is a risk if they stop selling it. But the problem is they cannot stop selling it because their customers still want the same product. Okay? Now, the reason the market goes up and down, there's many reasons market go up and down, because you may not have the product which you are supposed to ship in time, the transformation is occurring in the industry, there is many things which can happen, and things can go wrong. But these were definitely, you asked very important questions, because we were asking that question ourselves on a daily basis. Okay? Because it was not the, that you can build and deliver a great product. We have done that many times. Because the idea is to make the impact. Because if you don't make the impact, we are not successful. So I think we looked at it from a different angle, and we thought in long term it will benefit Cisco by getting into this particular segment of the market. Like I said, the boundaries were disappearing. The cloud, you can see it, is a great example. I think the future is basically this will get all integrated, and the infrastructure will become abstracted from the applications, which is already happening. Okay, that's a break for simplification, and a lot of us are entrepreneurs here. Give us the opportunity, because whenever there is a transformation, there is opportunity. So we should all look at it from that particular point of view, that by creating the changes, we can bring it. Now, it was a big risk, no doubt. Okay, but some of the things, sometimes you have to also think about that you need a little bit luck, okay, which is important. So what happened with Mark Hurd was a luck for us. Okay, there was a transformation which was occurring. So a lot of changes which do occur, which is we don't control, and either we depend upon, but it helps you. Okay, so sometimes you have to be a little bit lucky in that particular thing, that the dynamics in the industry can change. And but again, the good part is that they are still partners in some areas, and that partnership and non-partnership is a very complicated word these days, because in one area you compete, in the other area you partner. This is called co-compete. Compete and partner, co-partner. And which is what is, I think, is reality of the life is in the real industry. So don't worry about that particular thing, but you have to be careful, because like you said, it's a multi-billion-dollar business. Just to gain a little bit part of it, you're going to risk that particular business, will be disaster for any company. So your questions are very valid.
We can answer the second question. The real growth is not coming in the blades anymore. That's why you see the problem HP and Dell are having. You can see the growth has stalled.
No, actually, if you look at the data, you look at all these IDC reports and anywhere else, the only growth is in the blade, which is growing 20% year over year. Cisco, just to give you an example, when I was there, captured 30% of that particular market, okay, for blades in very short period of time in the United States. Okay, the reason for that is because we had a lot of differentiations which came out of the market, and the competitions didn't keep up with it. And our objective was to beat, and this is another thing I think for entrepreneurs or anybody who wants to do a startup. The best thing which you can do is to build a product and compete in the market. No other way. Okay? And when you win in the market, you really feel very good about it. Okay? So because a lot of people try to say you can hire people from there, and some of these articles which is written down there, you're hiring from competitions, you're hiring from there. That is not the objective is. And nobody should have that objective that by hiring the people, if you can make a very successful company, I'll kudos to those guys. Okay. You really need to think about the product strategy, go to market, like I said, innovation, differentiation, and make sure where the industry is making the transition.
So,
Question,
Prem,
Arvind?
you have made a lot of good transitions or transformations. So where do you see it going now?
To me, is this journey should continue. I mean, it's not me, it should be somebody else. I think the transformation is keep on happening. I mean, you look at the many years ago, you know, there is a continuously, since I'm in the high-tech business, there is multiple transitions is occurring, and we have seen it. We have seen the internet wave, we are seeing now the social networking. We don't know what's the next. I think if we can predict, I think there's a lot of opportunity to be very successful going forward.
Gentlemen, back.
With your association with Cisco as an entrepreneur, can you discuss a little bit about the benefits as well as constraints that you face because of your association, and what lessons somebody else can derive as an entrepreneur from that?
Well, anytime you know, you work with a corporation, you know, from the point of view of the funding model, I think is a great model, because you know, the percentage of the company which you give up, you know, is a different model once you have the corporate funding. I'm pretty sure you guys know about this. The constraint obviously comes with this because you want to make sure that you have agreed upon what you need to do. You have a time frame which is you said you're going to do it. The reward is based upon the revenue number, which is not in a classical startup. I don't know how many people will do a startup company says, okay, don't pay me anything if somebody acquires me, okay, until they sell the product. I don't know how many will be interested in here doing it. And you're counting on their sales force and their manufacturing to manufacture it and sell it. So it is, you know, it's constrained in that particular sense. The good thing though, I'll tell you, this is what I like about it. In a startup, when you have a product which is available, you go to try 5 customers, you may sell 20 boxes, or 5 boxes, or 10 boxes. Here, one thing which you need to worry about it, and we spend so much time in making that happen, is that once you say I'm FCSing this particular product, there's 14,000 sales or 18,000 salespeople ready to sell.